Joining me now is National Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie. It's nice to catch up with you, Bridget. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening. I want to start with Net Zero 2050 because it really seems as though it is splitting the coalition. The Liberals and Nationals have different positions on this. Your colleague Danica De Giorgio has been quite vocal. The Liberals want to win back a lot of teal seats. How do you think the coalition is going to navigate this target?
Yeah, well, great to be back with you, Danica. I think we've made it really clear as a national party that we're prepared to have the conversation. We're actually dealing with the social, economic and environmental impacts of how net zero by 2050 is being rolled out in our communities by state and federal Labor governments, and it's having a significant impact. So we want to have a conversation about that and determine our position going forward. We care for the environment, we love our local communities, and we want to have a well-informed debate and discussion about this as a party room. So I'm not going to preempt those discussions. They need to be had in the sanctity of our room with the data available to us over coming weeks and months, and we're prepared to have that conversation. What the Liberal Party does is up to them. They have a different constituency. They've had different electoral impacts than we have, and so they need the space to do what they need to do. But for the National Party, we've been really clear that this is something we want to discuss, and I'm looking forward to those discussions. We've got a diversity of views within our room, but I know each and every National Party MP and Senator will come to that discussion with the national interest at heart as well, and that's something to be aware of.
But you're also now apparently a united coalition. You know, if you can't come to an agreement on this, you've already split once. Who's to say you won't do it again?
Well, I think it was pretty paramount for us as a party to make sure the Liberals would commit to the 4 policy wins we'd had in the last Parliament, making sure if you live in the regions, you can make a phone call to an emergency service provider, or indeed run your own business or access telehealth and education opportunities like people in the city can through mobile and digital comms. Use the backyard full of uranium to make sure that we've got a nuclear energy production in coming decades as we head into the next century to keep jobs on shore, exactly the type of jobs you were talking about in your opening remarks. Make sure that if supermarkets behave badly, we have powers to break them up. And I think importantly, particularly in the conversation around transition and impact, that the $20 billion Regional Futures Fund remains intact. Now, they were hard-fought wins in the last coalition opposition, and we weren't prepared to turn our back on those. And I think that was the right decision. Now, the Liberal Party have agreed that they remain coalition policy. Fantastic. And we're both going to have separate conversations about net zero. We've made our, commitment to do that clear. You know, what happens as a result of that, I don't think we want to preempt those discussions for either of us.
Yeah, no, look, I understand that. It just it seems, though, that there's going to be a lot of policy split. You've got a number of moderates in the party, in the Liberal Party, who don't want it gone. The Nationals are really agitating for it, and that's why I say you've already split once. Who's not to say you won't do it again? But look, I want to ask you, Bridget McKenzie, about Environment Minister Murray Watt. He's given the long-awaited environmental approval for the North West Shelf project to be extended beyond 2030. You must be pleased with that decision.
I am, but, like all the people that have been working in this project and hope to work in this project, over the coming decade, why the wait? Why the wait? And you can really only say that it was the former Minister, Tanya Plibersek, and the Labor Party more broadly, who were prepared to play politics with the approval of this project. The state Labor government had ticked it off after an extensive approval process. We all need to have confidence with these approval processes. So if it's good enough for the Labor Party in WA to tick it off, I don't understand why it took so long for the federal Labor Party to tick it off, other than the need to win seats in capital cities against the Greens. I think that really points to politics over actual policy approvals in the national interest. So thankfully they've finally come to the table but it shouldn't have taken an election to get them there.
No, but I mean, it also, you know, a number of other projects that Labor has recently, environmental projects that Labor's recently said no to. And you know, we're just talking about manufacturing just a moment ago, Bridget McKenzie. What it's actually doing is stopping people from getting jobs and stifling local manufacturing.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. If we want to stay an industrialised country, if we want to make sure we've got smelters and refineries and modern manufacturing plants here on shore, then you're going to have to make sure we have access to resources to power energy. And that means getting the stuff out of the ground and into the grid. We also need to make sure that exporting it around the globe funds our healthcare system, our public education system, the ABC, heaven help us, Danica, but other, you know, services right around the country. So these aren't insignificant projects. And if you look at the pipeline of projects coming on board to really fund and power us in coming decades, it's a thinning group of projects. So I think the Labor Party, if they really care about the future of our country, need to approve more projects, not less. We have tough environmental laws.
Yeah.
We need to use them, have confidence in them, and get these projects approved.
Yeah, absolutely. Or we risk our future industrially, as you said. Bridget McKenzie, It's been nice to chat with you again. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening. Really appreciate it.